Hey guys, it's Drew Dillon from Project Lift, and in this week we have 3 steps that you can take to improve your Olympic lifts right now. Now, here's the kicker. All of the examples I'm taking come from the work that we do with athletes wanting to improve their Olympic lifts. And here are the 3 areas that we're going to focus on. Technique for you, the right amount of training for you, and a designed plan for you. You might notice I keep saying you because this is an individual attribute. This is coaching that gets individualized is key here. Now, guys, all of these stories are coming from our 90-day program, which we have a new class starting on April 12th. So if you are looking to improve your Olympic lifts and you know that having a coach could guide you and support you, check it out, guys. Apply. Let's have a conversation. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, number 1 is technique for you. Now, when we look at technique, here's one thing that a lot of athletes that come in, when we really survey them and we ask, hey, what areas of your lifts, are you stuck on? And technique rarely comes up. When we learn the Olympic lifts, wherever we learn them, it's fascinating. I'm curious how many athletes don't look at technique as an opportunity. But for all the athletes that come through the 90-day program, the athletes who work with us through our various programs, technique is a huge component. And I have a story from an athlete who's currently going through our 90-day program that's wrapping up here. And really, this athlete was highly accomplished. They made it to the nationals in USA weightlifting. They're strong. And really it was coming down to, hey, you're describing the movement like this. This is how I'm moving. Who's right? That's a great question, isn't it? So when we look at weightlifting technique, the question I'd pose to you is, what technique model are you using? And if you're unsure, that's an opportunity to dig into. How do you think of the bar coming off the floor? What happens with the bar at the hip? Off the hip, how do we transition underneath the bar? These are very key, critical areas. And if you watch World Weightlifting, you will see country after country do things slightly different. So what is the technique profile that's going to work for you? So guys, I've given some key questions here, and I would love to hear your responses in the comments if you want to start a conversation about it. But ultimately, how do you think of the bar coming off the floor? What happens at the hip, right? How would you describe that? How would you share that with a friend? How do we pull ourselves under the bar? And the fact that I said pull under the bar, that might be a new cue for someone listening who is thinking about pulling the bar up. So there's different cues and there's different ways to look at it, but technique is vital. Technique either helps us lift the weight or creates more friction and more effort on us for having to get the bar moving through that pattern. So guys, finding the technique for you is key. And those are the 3 questions that I'd have you answer for yourself. How am I thinking of the bar coming off the floor? What's happening at the hip? What's sending the bar up? What's happening there? And then how am I coming underneath the bar, right? Or am I pulling the bar up? So guys, answer those questions for yourself. If you're one of those athletes out there that are coaching themselves, doing it themselves, that's a great start. So good luck, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And let's go on to number 2. All right, guys, number 2 is finding the right amount of training for you. Now, here's the kicker, guys, that I see through our 90-day program over and over is everyone's different on the right amount of training. So when we look at group scenarios, when things are just written up on the board and we're just doing the same thing as the group, we'll see improvement to a point. And if you're at that point where you're ready to continue to improve, understanding the right amount of training for you is vital. If you think of it, we are living organisms. And like any living organism, what creates growth, right? If we just simplify it to a plant needs water, plant needs food, plant needs sunlight, right? Good soil, that's where that food comes from. So if we're looking at ourselves, and granted, we're focusing on weightlifting here and our training, so often I see athletes get stuck on the training part, right? Just the training part. How are we recovering? And this creates a bigger picture. if we're putting our training in a silo, and what I mean by that is separating it from everything else, separating it from work, separating it from school, separating it from family and life and all the other things going on, there's a huge component here to understand, to manipulate, to enhance our training, to help us lift better, to help us make gains. Stress is stress on the body, guys. And what that means is if you're getting stressed out at school, if you're getting stressed out at work, that stress from a nervous system standpoint is the same as loading up a barbell and working on the Olympic lifts. It is stress. So you might not think you're training very much, but if work is extremely stressful right now, your body is feeling it. So guys, the big thing here, big tip for you I have is expand your field of vision around stress. So if you're looking at it in the gym and it's like, man, I'm cranking away, I'm really putting in the work, why are my numbers stagnant? Very, very often, a couple things come up. Either we're truly not training enough, which is rare if you're watching this video. If you're watching this video, you're motivated and you're wanting to get better, so chances are you may be overtraining. And it's fascinating how often that word panics athletes because they're like, no, I'm fine. I don't want any less time in the gym. And there's some big opportunities there, guys, because I'm always amazed as new athletes come through our 90-day program, especially in that first month, what they discover. And going through it, we do a bit of a deload at the beginning, right? And in that beginning, we get to see where your nervous system truly is. And from there, we can start to manipulate components to help you make gains. So guys, for you out there watching, wanting to take this step, wanting to improve their lifts, expand your vision around stress. What all's going on? How often are you in the gym? What other stressors do you have in life? How are you recovering? Right? And if you haven't taken some time away from the gym to recuperate, that is step one. That is step one for you. And if it scares you, you need it even more. I wish you luck with that one. Let's go on to step 3. All right, guys. So step 3 is a plan designed for you. And what this means, guys, is, okay, what is your approach to your training, your program? Now, if you're, in a gym where you go in, you do the workout of the day, and then you leave, you don't have much control over that program, but you do have control when you go. So how are you getting your rest in? Are you creating it to where you train a day and then rest, train a day and then rest? Are you training 2 days in a row and then rest? Are you training 5 days in a row with no rest? So understanding the program for you plays off of what I said around the right amount of training for you. But here in 3, where it differs is an intentional plan. So how am I intentionally approaching my weightlifting training, giving myself time to work on technique and my weaknesses while my body is in a state where the stress is low, so I'm more fresh. So perfect example, guys, to help you out. If you're wanting to get better at your lifts, create a scenario in your week when you're working on them that you have just come off a rest period. And so a simple example, right? Say you train on Monday, right? So you train on Monday, so you rest on Tuesday. Going back in on Wednesday could be a good opportunity to do the lifts first thing because you just had a rest. If you rested on Sunday and you train on Monday, maybe Monday first thing is a good time. But understanding where to place training and then what other training are we doing? Are we doing conditioning? Are we doing exercises that have us doing repetitive motions that mimic the Olympic lifts? So understanding this as a big picture and altering our plan based on our goal in the moment. If you have a goal to improve your Olympic lifts right now, then you need to design a plan that supports that goal. And that involves placing your Olympic lifting training to where you are more fresh, right? So at the beginning of a workout, after rest period, taking conditioning that you're doing and putting it to where it's after your time with the Olympic lifts, and then also being very aware around repetitive motions, especially if they're mimicking the Olympic lifts, and removing them from the program so that you can keep those muscle groups even more fresh and find other ways to get your conditioning in. Okay, so I hope that helps you. I hope that makes sense. Guys, I'm really excited for you all out there on these 3 steps. If you just go down 1, 2, 3 and ask and do the things that I mentioned, you have an opportunity to make gains in your Olympic lifts right now. You absolutely will discover some stuff about your training that you may not have known. And ultimately, guys, again, we have a 90-day program, a new class starting on April 12th. If this is an area that you want to invest in and invest in yourself and you're ready to have a coach, apply, guys. Reach out. Let's talk. But guys, I hope this helps you. I would love to hear your comments that answers the question. I'd love to hear where you guys are at. Right? And if this did provide you guys something to think about, some good questions to get into your training, then pass it forward, guys. Share this with a friend, pay it forward, smash that like button, and make sure you subscribe because we have new videos on the Olympic lifts each week.